Welcome back, guys, to Cardboard Currencies. Today we've got a couple announcements real quick, but anybody that's on Okinawa, I want you guys to know about this. On 6 August from 1200 to 2000, we're doing a little modern EDH, CEDH event, and everybody's welcome. This is a non-profit event. It's free, open to all ages. As long as you can play Magic, you're invited. There's going to be prizes upon prizes. Some of them provided by me, some of them provided by Cardbox. And before we go further, a friend of mine pointed out that I said his name was Miyagi. Moki-san, I am so sorry. I mess up everybody's name, so I apologize. But Mogi's awesome. He donated a bunch of stuff, and Absolute Zero's helping us advertise and stuff. So big thank you to you guys out there. But yeah. If you're interested in modern EDH, CEDH, we want you guys to come out here on Kadena, building 337. That's the USO. It's right by the Chili's to go, which is right by Gate 2. So if you know Kadena at all, we can get you there. If you are interested in the event and how to attend, please let me know either in the comment section or in an email to cardboardcurrencies@gmail.com, and I will get you the info for sure. All right, so with that, let's get into today's video. In cooperation with Operation Ignite the Spark, I built a bunch of decks, a couple. I've built 3 right now, and I'm giving them away. In Operation Ignite the Spark, we want to build some ultra budget decks, some things that we have on hand that we can just kind of throw together and get people interested in Magic. So I play EDH, so that's the deck I built. I built a couple of these. I'm giving one away tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow. And I'm giving another one away at the event. So if you're interested in this deck and you want to have it, be there and be there early so I can get it to you. I'll probably build a couple more in between now and then, but I kind of wanted to share the deck tech with you. So the deck today: Feather the Redeemed, the Queen of Budget. She costs a red and 2 white, legendary angel, 3/4 flying, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. I love Feather. This is one of my favorite cards. She's so easy to build around. She's got a bunch of different uses that she can get used for. But today we built a super ultra budget Spellslinger deck. Again, this is just stuff that I happen to have on hand. So could it be a little bit more tuned? Probably. Probably could be a little bit more competitive. And if you sink another 10 or 20 bucks in, you could definitely get your money's worth. But today our budget was under 15 and we hit it. We actually went lower than 15. The deck you're going to see today is $12. That's not including shipping, but it's all the stuff I had on hand. So it was really cool, really easy to put together, and just kind of some fun. So let's get into what goes into it. Yeah, Feather the Redeemed. So first off, 12 mountains, super easy, and 12 plains. Let me tell you, if you are spending money on basic lands, please don't. Email me, let me know, give me your address, and I will mail you a bunch of lands. I've got plenty on hand. So if you're trying to build a deck and you don't have enough lands, please just don't buy them. Mail them to me. The price is not going to include the lands, so yeah, there's no reason to. But anything more than a basic land is included in the price and what we get into now. So the first card up, Command Tower, of course. Add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. So this will tap for a red or a white. Evolving Wilds will tap, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And Terramorphic Expanse is very similar. It does the same exact thing. Windscarred Crag. It comes into the battlefield tapped, but you gain 1 life when it does. You also tap it for a red or white. Stone Quarry enters the battlefield tapped as well, but you also get to tap that for red or white. Rustvale Bridge does the same thing, but it's indestructible. Boros Guildgate, taps and taps for red or white. And Lorehold Campus also enters the battlefield tapped. Tap for red or white, but it has an additional, you can pay for, tap, and scry 1. Probably not going to use that with this deck, but it's still nice to have that color fixing capability. So, cool. Some pretty basic lands, but we'll throw in 3 little artifacts that tap for some mana as well. Fire Diamond enters the battlefield tapped, and it adds red. Marble Diamond taps for a white and enters the battlefield tapped. And Arcane Signet taps and adds 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. So these are really basic tap artifacts. Fix your mana, kind of ramp you a little bit, but they're super budget, and that's why they got thrown in here. There's no reason to add a soul ring in here. The deck doesn't need it. So, what is the deck tech with Feather the Redeemed? Well, for this one, it's Spellslinger. And with any Spellslinger deck, you add these 3 cards automatically. Electrostatic Field does have Defender, so it can't attack, but it's a 0/4 wall. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Electrostatic Field deals 1 damage to each opponent. So for every spell that we cast, and we're going to cast a lot, we're dealing at tops 3 damage, maybe 1 if you're down to 1 opponent, but that is really good for the addition of, casting an instant or sorcery. Thermo-Alchemist is like it. It also has Defender, but you can tap it and it deals 1 damage to each opponent, with the added benefit that if you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it untaps. So every time you cast a spell, it's going to untap and you can hit him for 1 more. So great there. And the king of this effect is Guttersnipe. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Guttersnipe deals 2 damage to each opponent. I found a new toy, wanna play? Heck yeah. So that's some good damage coming off of there. And next, we'll kind of go into some other creatures that benefit from you casting instants or sorceries. The first one is Fire Urchin. It costs 2, it's got trample, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Fire Urchin gets a +1/+0 until end of turn. Now, this deck has a lot of spells that's going to buff them up anyway, so with an added benefit of it getting +1 more, that's super spicy. Radic Cyclops. It is a 4-drop, but it has trample as well, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Radic Cyclops gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is that spell's mana value. Now, a lot of times in this deck, the mana costs for the spells that you're going to be casting are going to be like 1 or 2 costs, but you're going to be able to cast them a lot. Using all the mana you have available and casting that, it's going to get really up there really fast. The next one's Spellgorger Weird. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on Spellgorger Weird. So on top of getting buffed up by any spells that are targeting it, even if you cast a spell that doesn't target this card, it's getting a +1/+1 counter, and it's just going to keep getting stronger and stronger. Last for this one is Burning Prophet. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Burning Prophet gets +1/+0 until end of turn, then scry 1. I feel like people sleep on scry. If you don't know what scry is, you look at the top card of your deck, you decide, do I want this card on top, or do I not want this card on top, and I throw it on the bottom of my deck. If it's another land card and you keep drawing them, you're going to throw it to the bottom. So it gives you that card advantage, being able to pick out what you want. Perfect. Okay, so next up, we're looking at Runaway Steam-Kin. This is a good one. There's a lot of red spells that you're going to cast, and whenever you cast a red spell, if Runaway Steam-Kin has fewer than 3 1/1 counters on it, put a 1/1 counter on Runaway Steam-Kin. Then you remove 3 1/1 counters from Runaway Steam-Kin, and you get to add 3 red mana. So a lot of the spells, again, are going to be 1 or 2 costs anyway, so you're going to be getting your mana back pretty quick and being able to just spell sling off of this card. So it's a great add. The next 3 cards are kind of like the top cards for this deck. Krenko 10-String Kingpin. This is an awesome card. It's the most expensive card in here, and it's only like $1.50. So what Krenko 10 Street Kingpin does, whenever it attacks, I put a 1/1 counter on it, then create a number of 1/1 red goblin creature tokens equal to Krenko's power. So you're going to be buffing him up anyway, before or while he attacks, and you're going to get him ramping up with more and more 1/1 counters on it. There are spells in here that give 1/1 counters, and it's just going to keep ramping up, and you're going to get more and more goblins. And when those goblins come in, whenever another creature enters the battlefield with this guy on here, Mentor of the Meek, if its power is 2 or less, you can pay 1 and draw a card. So pay 1 of any mana and you'll be able to draw a card anytime that Krenko's making tokens. You can just draw cards. So great addition in here, along with Young Pyromancer. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 red elemental creature token onto the battlefield. So between these 3 cards, you're going to be drawing, creating tokens, and it's going to be awesome. So these are the money makers in this one, and it's stupid cheap. So some great additions there. Alright, so coming off of that, what are just some good creatures to have in here? Healer's Hawk, automatic addition in here. A flying lifelink creature, which is super cheap, and you're going to be buffing him up and just healing off of him. So an awesome addition in here. Doomscar Oracle. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you gain 2 life. So the deal with Feather is you don't have to cast these buff up spells or whatever on your turn alone. You can cast them on anybody's turn. So eventually you're going to be casting a lot of spells on other people's turn, particularly to draw cards at people's end steps, and this guy is going to just keep gaining you life as you do. Fresh Face Recruit. As long as it's your turn, Fresh Face Recruit has First Strike. It's a 2/1 anyway, so adding First Strike on there when it goes to attack is going to be really nice. Additionally, if you don't know what this mana symbol is, it's one colorless, so anything. But this is a red-white. You get to choose which one to pay. So at the beginning of the game, if you have this in your hand, it's going to be real easy to cast. So some good creatures just to have. On top of that is your double strikers here. Fencing Ace, a 1/1 with double strike, and Raging Redcap, a 1/2 with double strike. So both of these cards have double strike. When you buff these guys up with bigger and bigger spells, that double strike is going to hurt, especially if they get trample, which this deck will usually get them trample really, really quick. Now some creatures that will buff your other creatures when you target these guys. Hero of the Pride and Hero of the Games, both kind of similar. Whenever you cast a spell that targets either of these guys, every other creature you control gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. So if you're buffing up these guys along with some pretty buffed up single guys, you'll be buffing up all your other creatures you have. And if you've got tokens out or some token generators, that's going to be a lot of people coming in to attack. Now some other guys you might want to target. Lagonna-Band Trailblazer. It has Heroic, which means whenever you cast a spell that targets him, you put a 1/1 counter on him. So that's pretty good as he keeps getting stronger and stronger while you buff him anyway. And the same goes with Satyr Hoplite. Whenever you cast a spell that targets him, you put a 1/1 counter on him. So really good. But the best of both worlds here is 10th District Legionnaire. He has haste, and whenever you cast a spell that targets 10th District Legionnaire, you put a 1/1 counter on him, but then you also get the Scry. So again, you get to filter through your cards a little bit, which is really, to me, an underrated thing. Everybody kind of focuses on draw being the strongest, which it is, but Scry, I feel like, is super underrated. Alright, so we've been talking about... Oh, before that, we got one more creature I forgot about. Duke Ulder Ravengard. This is a new one that recently got added. But it says, at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and myriad until end of turn. Now what myriad is whenever it attacks for each opponent other than the defending player, you get to create a token that's a copy of that creature that's tapped and attacking that player planeswalker they control. And then you get to exile yeah, you get to exile the tokens at the end. Not get to, you kind of forced to, but thing to note with this, your legendary creatures are going to get destroyed if you target them with this effect. So hint, hint, don't do that unless you're just asking for the pain. What you really want to hit are your creatures, maybe your token generators that every time you cast an instant or sorcery, now it's making you 4 of these elemental creatures. Or maybe you want to buff up one of these guys, particularly maybe Burning Prophet. You're now making 4 of these guys, which means that Burning Prophet gets +1/+0. Each one gets +1/+0, but then on top of that, you get to scry 4 different times for each player that it's attacking. Now, if you've knocked out a player or whatever, that's going to be less and less useful, but it's still super handy, and it's kind of fun to add that in there. Alright, now let's talk about some of the instant and sorcery spells that get added in here. So first off, let's talk about cards that give you 1/1 counters, because 1/1 counters stay on the field. So as you buff up your creatures, they're just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger as the game goes on. So the first off, Will of the All-Hunter. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's blocking, instead, put 2 1/1 counters on it. This is going to be a card that you're going to play on other people's turn. As they attack you and maybe aren't expecting to have they're not expecting you to have a more powerful blocker, you're able to throw this out here, buff up your creature, or if you're really hurting for something else, you can decide to cycle it instead. You pay 2 of any color and discard this card, then you can draw a card. Next up is a really, you get to use it in a lot of different circumstances. Light of Hope, you can gain 4 life. Now, if you use it to gain 4 life, you do not get Feather's effect because you did not target a creature. Then you can destroy a target or enchantment instead. Again, you will not get it back if you do that, but for specific times that might be useful. Lastly, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. For 1 white mana, that's super good, especially if you can keep using it over and over and over again. Light the Way is similar. You get to choose 1. You put a 1/1 counter on target creature or vehicle and untap it. There are no vehicles in this deck, but that 1/1 counter on there is really good. But then also, you can choose the other one, return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. If you're afraid Feather's going to get blown up, you can just return it to your hand. Or if one of your other big hitters are about to get taken away, you can just bring it back and everything's good to go. And on the plus side as well, if Feather's out, you can do it again. Alright, so, Unbound Potential. You get to choose one, again, put 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures, and for 2 mana, that is really good. Or you can choose to Proliferate, or if you cast it for 4, you get to choose both. That's what that Entwine cost is for. You get to do both of those things. So, really good there. Alright, Homestead Courage is next. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It gains Vigilance until end of turn. And then it also has Flashback. So if you have to use this and Feather's not out, you can kind of cast it from your graveyard later, and it can be useful in that circumstance later on. So pretty cool. Alright, let's talk about some protection here. Refuse to Yield is a pretty cool one. Target creature gets +2/+7 until end of turn, and untap it. If your opponent's not expecting you to have a really big blocker, and you throw this out there, and suddenly their big huge creature they thought was going to get through doesn't do any damage at all, this will be a really big stopper in their plan. Especially if, like, one of my favorite decks is Idris. If I don't get that trample trigger, and I'm expecting to, or not the trample, but the storm trigger that comes off of its ability once it does damage, all of the cards you cast from hand have storm. So if I don't get that, that's going to be a big problem, and you can shut it down with cards like this. Make a Stand. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain Indestructible until end of turn. If your opponent throws a board wipe out there and it says destroy all creatures and you are able to play this, that plan goes all the way. So that's a great ability. This one does not target though, so you will not get this instant back, but there are other cards in here that will target. So this is kind of a one and done protection, but that's okay. Ajani's Presence is a pay 1 and pay 3 more for each target beyond the first. Then it says any number of target creatures each get +1/+1 and gain indestructible until end of turn. So if you need to protect a singular creature, this is a good way to do it. Or if you have the mana to protect another one, I mean, throw it in there. You're good to go. Adamant Will says target creature gets +2/+2 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Another just chance to be indestructible. And Valorous Stance says choose one. Target creature gains indestructible until end of turn, but then on top of that, you could choose the other one instead. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. So if Feather is out and you choose that other one, because you are not choosing your creatures, you won't be able to bounce that back to your hand at the end step, but that's okay. If you're using this to protect your specific creatures, that's going to be more than helpful. Alright, let's talk about the big buffers, the things that are going to make this deck scary. So the first one is Revelation of Power. It says target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, but then if it has a counter on it, it also gains flying and lifelink until end of turn. So any 1/1 counters that are on there, or some other counters that are going to be brought up here in a minute, if they're on there, they're getting flying and lifelink added on there, so awesome addition. Arm the Cathars. This is a really cool one that was recently released, but until end of turn, target creature gets +3/+3, up to one other target gets +2/+2, and then one other one gets +1/+1. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. So on top of whatever damage that you've done, or whatever buffs that are coming out because you cast this one spell, you're also buffing up math-wise. You're going up +6/+6 across the board. So realistically, a very good price for just 3 mana. Temur Battle Rage. This will give any of your other creatures that don't have Double Strike, and then you'll be able to cast it at the next end step, and at the next one. Just a good addition. Arrestor Zeal. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and then it's got Addendum as well. If you cast the spell during your main phase, that creature gets flying until end of turn. So if they've got a bunch of land blockers, or maybe if you're going up against goblins or something, no matter how many 1/1 creatures they've got that are on the ground ready to block you, you're going to fly over them if you cast this during your main phase, so a great addition. Run Amok, cost 2, target attacking creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn, which will just bowl over anything that is on the field. Target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn, great addition. Barge in, target attacking creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Each attacking non-human creature gains trample until end of turn. Now there are a bunch of humans in here, and they will not benefit from that trample effect, but being able to target some of those other guys and get +2/+2 anyway, and then they get trample on top of them, is just a great addition. Moment of Heroism. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains lifelink until end of turn. Gaining that life through this game is going to help you immensely. Phalanx Tactics. Target creature you control gets +2/+1 until end of turn. Each other creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Sure Strike. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Tandem Tactics, up to 2 target creatures get +1/+2 until end of turn, and you gain 2 life. Kindled Fury, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. And Fervent Strike, target creature gets +1/+0, gains first strike and haste until end of turn. Maximize Velocity is kind of similar. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains haste until end of turn, but with the addition that this card has Jumpstart. It says you may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs, then exile this card. So you kind of get it. There's a bunch of these cards that just buff up your creatures on your battle step as you cast these guys. Feather exiles them, and then at the end step, you get all the cards back. The only thing that you've got to keep in control is your hand size, because at the end of the step, all these guys come back to your hand, and you have to discard down to 7. So there are cards that you can get to kind of buff up this deck that makes it to where you have no maximum hand size, which are some excellent additions. If you're going to upgrade this deck, those are the instant ones you're going to throw in there. They're not very expensive. They're pretty cheap, but just couldn't fit it into this one just because of pricing and what I had on hand. But we've still got some more cards to go here, and the next section is really the section that makes this deck sing. So, these are all cards that target your creatures, but then allow you to draw a card. So on top of having being able to buff up creatures in certain ways, but turn after turn, you're going to be able to draw cards and draw more cards, draw more cards. So these are the cards that just really pull this deck together. But Ancestral Anger. The first part says target creature gains trample and gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is 1 plus the number of cards named Ancestral Anger in your graveyard, and then draw a card. So this will never get above 1. This is EDH is a singleton format. You only get 1 of every card, and this card will always get exiled as long as Feather's out there, so it'll never reach the graveyard. So it'll never go above 1, but 1 red mana for drawing a card, that is where this card sings. Blind Blast. This one's a little bit more expensive and it costs 3, but Blind Blast deals 1 damage to target creature. That creature can't block this turn. Draw a card. So this is a very specific card. You can use it to kind of target your own creatures and deal 1 damage and draw that card, and time again you can kind of use this over and over. But realistically, this will also be able to be used if someone's got a huge blocker out. You can use this card to kind of deal 1 damage, make sure it doesn't block, and then swing in for the win with a mega buffed up creature. But you can also use it to just draw a card if that's what you really need to do. Renegade Tactics says target creature can't block this turn, draw a card. Realistically, you're going to be swinging in a lot anyway, so it doesn't really matter if your creature can't block this turn. Or even at, no, we'll just leave it at that. Target creature can't block this turn, you get to draw a card at sorcery speed, no less, but it's still 1 red mana for drawing a card. Not bad. And repetitively, too, with the effect of Feather the Redeemed. Defiant Strike is an excellent one. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and draw a card for 1 white. That is a great addition. Crash Through. Creatures you control gain trample until end of turn, draw a card. So this one's a little bit more situational, because it does not, again, target. It says creatures you control gain trample until end of turn. You can use this to draw a card if you really need to, but usually I use this as a game finisher. If I've got a wide board and I can continually target Hero of the Pride, giving everybody that I have on the field +1/+0 over and over and over, and then I can just swing in with a trample guy, that's what I want to do with this one. Shoulder to Shoulder, this is a really good one. For 3, support 2, which means you put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. You get to draw a card on top of that, so really cool there. So yeah. These are some really budget ones. There are a lot of similar cards that do similar things, but they were a little bit more expensive, and so I kept them out of here. But drawing a card, turn and turn again, that is an excellent addition to Feather. Now on top of that, again, like I said before, I feel like Scry is super underrated, and so that's what a bunch of these do, on top of the additional effect that it throws in there. So God's Willing is a 1-drop instant. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn, plus you get to Scry 1. If you don't know what protection is, it means that it can't be blocked by that creature. A spell that has that color can't target it. So if I choose a creature and say I'm going against a mono black player. If I target a creature and say that it has protection from black, they can't block that specific creature. Or even just kill it with some crazy black instant, because black is... It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite color in Magic. Yeah. Inordinate Rage. Target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn. Scry 1. Storm Strike. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Scry 1. Boon of Safety. This is a cool one from a recent set. Streets of New Capenna. Whew, almost got that one wrong again. But put a shield counter on target creature, and then you get to scry 1. So what a shield counter is if it would be dealt damage or destroyed, remove the shield counter from it instead. So some protection there as well. Titan Strength. Its target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn. Scry 1. Samet Sprint. Target creature gets +2/+1 and gains haste until end of turn. Scry 1. So yeah, some great additions in here to be able to just filter what is going to be on the top of your deck and be able to get what you need situated on the top. All right, so a very good protection card that I like to add in white is Endure. And it says, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and permanents you control this turn. And the reason why I keep this in in this sort of deck is this is it can be a little bit one-sided when it's up against a token deck. So goblins, bears, there's a bunch of different token decks, even torrents. If they get going, if these token decks get going, usually what people end up doing is just tapping everything down and going wide across the board, and they might feel like they have the win. As long as you've left 5 mana up, though, and you see them kind of gearing towards, hey, maybe these guys are, it's turn 10, and it's a token deck, and it's generating, it's probably going to end here pretty soon. A lot of people get comfortable and they're going to swing wide and leave their board open. So when you cast this Endure, it's going to really hurt them. Because it says, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and permanents you control this turn. So any of the damage that they thought was coming through, they thought they had the kill, instantly negated by throwing Endure out there. So a little bit of protection there against token decks. The next card that I kind of throw out there with Feather specifically is Galvanic Relay. It's a sorcery. Exile the top card of your library. During your next turn, you may play that card, and it has Storm. Whenever you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. So, what you can end up doing is, say you've cast a bunch of spells already, you can then cast Galvanic Relay. Say you cast 3, we'll throw 3. 3 instants or sorceries earlier this turn, and then you throw out Galvanic Relay. You'll exile the top card, and then the Storm effect will go into play. So now you've cast 3 other spells. So now you get to copy it 3 other times. So you get to exile 3 more cards, and then on your next turn, you get to cast those spells or play them if they're lands. So realistically, I use this card when I feel like my hand size is really dwindling down. I need to add more instants or sorceries into my hand, or I feel like maybe I've hit a land pocket and I just need to get those out of the way so I can get to the cards I actually need. That's when I'll play a Galvanic Relay and just kind of filter stuff out. Next up, what happens when everybody else gets ahead? This deck can kind of depend on some quick fire, and maybe there's some setbacks. Maybe someone threw a board wipe out there and kind of really set you back. What then? Well, you get some board wipes of your own. Slaughter the Strong. Says each player choose any number of creatures they control with total power 4 or less, then sacrifices all other creatures they control. So if you've got Feather out there, there's no need to worry. He's a 3/4. So he's only power 3, which means you can have another 1/1 creature that's out there, and then you might have to sacrifice the rest, but everybody else is in the same boat, so it's a great evener of the board state. Slash the ranks is it says destroy all creatures and planeswalkers except for commanders. So this is a really good one if someone's playing Super Friends or anything like that, but also for token generators, which are super popular. This will clear the board out so that everybody can be back on the same state, and hopefully you can reassemble your board state. Fiery Cannonade is a super cheap one. It says that it deals 2 damage to each non-pirate creature. Pirates are very specific, so having this in store just in case somebody's running tokens is a great card to just keep in the back there. And if out of the 4, which that's super rare if that's the case, if out of the 4 people no one's doing tokens, you're in luck, and you just be able to discard this card later. Depopulate says each player who controls a multicolored creature draws a card, then destroy all creatures. If you're using this when Feather's still out there, you get to draw a card, so that'll be a good deal, but it will destroy all the cards that you have on your side of the field as well as everybody else's. But if you're really behind and you just have to, then you have to, and that's why this card's here. So not very many, just 4 board wipes, because usually you can get this deck pretty going. You don't want a board wipe, because it's just going to destroy you. So that is the deck, all 100 cards right there, and I will post a list inside the video so that you can copy and paste it and throw it into TCG Player and kind of buy it if you need to. But like I said, I'm giving this one away tomorrow, and I'm giving another one away at the event. So I'll probably put another couple together. I think I've said that before, but yeah. If you like what you see, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, because I've got a lot of deck techs and stuff. I've got like over 40 decks that I've built, but this wasn't an ultra budget one. Like I said, $12 to build this one. So if you've got any of these cards and maybe want to support AMP or the Ignite the Spark stuff that's going on, if you want to hand out decks to be able to get people involved into the MTG community, I really push you, I challenge you to just do that, because like I said, this is all stuff I had on hand and just happened to have. What's in your collection that you're not really playing with and that other people could use, that that would get them interested in a lifelong hobby and get them into a community that will provide them a social well-being and a social construct to just make sure that, you know, people are doing okay, especially in these really tough times. So yeah, if you like what you see, hit like and subscribe. Please let me know what you think, and as always, just have a great day, guys. I'll see you next time.